Hello, everybody. Welcome to Townsend 505, or welcome back for a lovely viewer. Today, me and Jacob Marner, we're going to be doing a huge series. This is going to be my longest series to date. Unless there's another artist that has more albums than him, I don't think there's going to be a series that's going to be this long. That's none other than the Man in Black, Johnny Cash. Uh, how you doing today, Jacob?
I am doing great. I am so excited that you want to cover some country music. And Johnny Cash is a good artist to start because he's kind of a mix between country, a little bit of rock and roll in there. He adopted like the rockabilly style all throughout his career. And there's a reason why, even though he's a revered country artist, why he's inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I guess we'll dive into that as we explore this series.
Mm-hmm. Uh, Yeah, I think we were long overdue to. Well, I think on my channel I've been long overdue to cover something that's not classic rock related. Uh, I feel like the first artist to do that would be was great to do Johnny Cash and to get some great country variety on my channel. So I feel like this is a great way to start it off my variety because I feel like I'm gonna be honest. I feel like I have very little variety going to last year because I was looking at my Spotify Wrapped, and I saw that like 100% of it was basically classic rock, and I'm like, I need to change that immediately. So I'm like, you know what? Let's do Johnny Cash because there's a lot of albums, a lot of meat to go into it, so really good. I'm gonna read the comments. Hey, get on with it because this is like before the thing started. Hello, I'm not Johnny Cash. uh, that's a line from the opening to Johnny Cash's when he opens up his live album.
Hello, I'm Johnny Cash.
Bum 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 bum. Uh, you might be looking at the title and you're probably thinking, "What is S1?" Normally, it's like episodes. Well, he has over 70 albums. We're gonna be covering three three live albums, a ton of compilation albums, and over 60 studio albums. So this is going to be too much just to do just episodes. So we're going to be doing seasons. So this is season one since we're covering the 50s, the first ever decade of Johnny Cash. And then once we get to the 60s, it's season two. Then the 70s, season three. And then each season's just going to, well, up until the 70s, each season's going to get longer and longer. So this could be the longest. This could probably be the shortest season we have. I'm not sure yet. Uh, Before we start reviewing this album, you have any history with Johnny Cash? You have any like things that got you into Johnny Cash?
Okay, so I did have an interesting story of how I got into Johnny Cash. So the year was 2003, and 2003 was coincidentally that was the year Johnny Cash died. And when I was a kid, my dad was stationed in the National Guard, and I think this was around the time he was deployed more often, and so that particular year, we visited and hung out with them at this army base. And around this time, whenever we were at places and then they had cable, because at the time we didn't have cable at the house, I like to watch CMT because I was fixated on music videos and raised on country music. And the night that we were there, I think in the hotel or whatever in the base, this night, this was back when CMT was playing music videos all the time. Just for some reason that night, they weren't playing music videos. It was people discussing the life of Johnny Cash, seeing as he just recently passed away. And I was like, who is this Johnny Cash? I don't know what this is. And then I think that night when he died was when the first Johnny Cash song I ever heard was actually Hurt, which was one of the last songs he recorded before he died. And, and I saw the iconic music video with Johnny Cash, old and frail, in his house, singing the song, reflecting on his life. Now, when you're 7, 8 years old, and that's your introduction to Johnny Cash, it's going to get over your head because a song dealing with death, looking back on your life, that doesn't relate to a 7, 8 year old. So at the time, I didn't think much of that song when it came out. I just kind of forgot about Johnny Cash and just kind of moved on with my life. However, sometime later, might have been, I don't know if it was that same year or a couple of years after, my local country station played one of Johnny Cash's songs, and that was Ring of Fire. And I'll never forget it. The first time I heard that song, I'll never forget hearing those mariachi horns for the first time, that rockabilly style, which I'm not used to hearing, and Johnny Cash's baritone voice. All three of those things combined, I was like, wow, this Johnny Cash guy is really cool. I need to hear more of his stuff. And then, what do you know? My grandmother had an Essential Johnny Cash album. I listened to it, loved a lot of his songs, and the older I got, the more I appreciated his music. And now I'll say one of my favorite country artists is the Man in Black, Johnny Cash.
My story of how I got into Johnny Cash was first time I ever heard him. We were listening to the Beatles, and we were listening to What Goes On. And I'm like, this is a very Western sounding song. And my dad's like, you want to hear something Western? And he puts on Boy Named Sue and Boy Named Sue, uh, Ring of Fire, just Johnny Cash. And I'm like, this is so different from what I'm used to. Of course, when you're young and you're listening and you're not familiar with things, you just sort of like automatically not like it. This was like back in my like Beatle obsession, where like anything that's not the Beatles, I didn't like. So I for the longest time I didn't like Cash. Like there was like a certain time though when I like really liked Johnny Cash when I was listening to his essential hits, and I really got into him. And of course, everyone knows Live at Folsom Prison. That's the first ever album I ever heard of him. I've heard his Ring of Fire album, the compilation. That's we're gonna be listening. We're gonna be reviewing that album. I've heard the Johnny Cash Show. I've heard San Quentin. I even heard this album. So I am familiar with some of his albums, but not like in terms of like albums. This is like probably like a huge blind spot for me because of how much albums he has. So this could be a very interesting like journey to go through. Just seeing how basically how he evolves from like what he does on this album to like making concept albums to like he's done so much in his career, and I'm excited to explore every bit of it.
Yeah, I'm excited to explore as well because before starting this series, this is the only album I've heard in full before.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of his big radio hits, and he has a ton of great songs. I'm excited to dive into the albums where a lot of these songs came from.
Mm. Yeah. Wait until you get to Live at Folsom Prison. That's one of the greatest albums. Like one of the greatest albums you ever hear by him.
Yeah, I bet.
Iconic album.
Well, before we start, have you seen the movie Walk the Line with Walking Phoenix as Johnny Cash?
I actually have.
That movie is amazing.
Yeah, it's actually one of the few movies I like that's like based on like singers and all that.
Yeah, I would say Ring of Fire, not Ring of Fire, Walk the Line. That's probably the best music biopic I've seen because I love how authentic it feels and how
Yeah,
it captured Johnny Cash's life, and even it wasn't afraid to acknowledge his dark side while also showing how great of an artist that he was.
I agree. I will say that biopic and Love and Mercy are probably my two favorite biopics. I will confess I'm not a huge fan of new country music, but I do like older country music. I'm kind of with you on that, Scott.
Yeah, I kind of like a mix of country music. I prefer the older style of country music, but there's some newer artists I really like Chris Stapleton, for instance.
Mm. Well, let's get into the review portion. 10 minutes already. We're It's funny, we're like 10 minutes in and we're so much to talk about in this first
Yeah.
10 minutes. First song on the album, first song by him in general, just like get into the introduction to him, Rock Island Line.
Yeah, this is a great start to the album. I love that it starts off kind of slow, and he's talking. He's introducing the setup of the song about the Rock Island line and what you need to do so you won't have to pay the toll. And then there's kind of a story that goes along about livestock and cattle, and then it slowly builds up, and then the second half of the song it gets really amazing where he starts singing really fast. It feels like one of them old school country songs with all that fast rhyming, fast talking. I'm a sucker for those kinds of songs. I'm the other thing that amazed me on this album is how the production in this is very simplistic. It's just Johnny Cash, his vocals. He's got the guitar. He got a guitarist and a bassist. There's no percussion on this album, but yet there's this sound that Johnny does when he's playing guitar. He takes this dollar bill and he plucks it within the string to make it sound like there's percussion going. And yet it's absolutely amazing. And this is a great start. I love this song. It's one of my favorites from the album. I especially love the progression of the song from it going slow to fast.
My opinion on it, I think this song's really good. Uh, like when I first took a dive into this album, I'm like, no way this first song's gonna be that good. First album, it's probably gonna be one of those albums where like only the hits are good, and like I was shocked. I'm like, whoa, Johnny Cash is already making amazing songs on his first album and its first song. You know you're getting into some great territory when you do that. It's just freaking amazing. Uh, really enjoy it.
Folly.
Stapleton is amazing. Neither one of you is wearing black for the review.
Now we are.
Yep, we took the
Now
wrong
we
joke.
are.
Thank you, Jason. I'll make sure to wear this every review. Maybe I'll actually get a
This
black.
is one of my preacher suits.
So we're both wearing black. We're the men in black.
Yeah.
Men in black. Yeah.
Vendors.
Jason. Okay. Yeah, I'm glad we could both agree that this is an amazing start to
Yes.
a career. It's just like it just proves how great he is. It's like yeah, this is amazing. Most of my knowledge is from the movie Walk the Line. Okay.
Great movie, Jason.
Yeah, it's my second favorite biopic.
Yeah. And the fact that Walking Phoenix actually did his own vocals and did a spot on impression of Johnny Cash is incredible.
Oh yeah, I agree. Next song on the album, I heard that Lonesome Whistle.
Oh, this is a great song too. I wish I went and heard the original song before we went live because this was originally a Hank Williams song, and I have a great appreciation for Hank Williams as well. But I've not heard the original version. But whatever, Johnny Cash does a great job on this song. I think his baritone vocals really shine on this song, especially with just how I think just sad and melancholy the song is, where he's like, I heard that lonesome whistle blow. And you can just feel like the loneliness and pain as he's singing this song. This is one where I feel like if you have a good baritone voice, I think that helps make the song that much special. And it was really hard compiling a ranking for this album because we had one amazing song after another. And this one is no exception. Like, the more I listen to it, the more I greatly appreciate it.
I agree. This is such a good song. I love the way he sings it. The lonesome whistle alone. Just the way he pronounces lonesome is like lonesome whistle alone. Just like It's such a great song. I love this. This like a it's amazing how you go from like a fast paced song, and then you go to this song. It's just like it's such a great way to follow up the Rock Island line. Really good.
Yeah.
Next song on the album, Country Boy, Country Boy.
Yeah. So this is actually the first song on the album that Johnny Cash actually wrote. He wrote a lot of his big songs. The song's fine. I think this is one of the weaker ones on the album, but there's nothing about it that's awful or anything compared to other debut albums that we've covered. It's just, I think there's other great songs on this album, but this one just kind of came off as a little bit of filler, in my opinion. But there's nothing, terrible about it. It's just one that just, for me, just kind of came in one ear and out the other compared to some of the other songs on the album.
That's fair. Yeah, yeah. It's like kind of like all the songs are really good. So like, there has to be a song that eventually there has to be a song that's going to be your least favorite. So
Yeah.
it's gonna happen. Every album has a least favorite song. So I think this is a really good song. This isn't in my top 5 by any means, but I really enjoy it. I love the fast pace of it after the slow song from after the slowness of the previous song. I think this is pretty good, actually. I think probably towards the middle, though, of the ranking, though. Next song on the album, If the Good Lord's Willing.
This is another great song. I really like. I like how I just love how dang catchy it is. The fact that he took this common phrase, "If the good Lord's willing and the creek don't rise," and made a really sweet love song out of it. There's some real catchy lyrics in there, some catchy wordplay. I saw this was written by, we've talked about this off the stream, Jerry Reed, who at the time was a prominent songwriter, actually wrote this song. And he does have a sharp wit, and it's cool that Johnny Cash actually performed this. I do really like this. Again, I don't think it's in my top 5, but it's still a really good song, really catchy song. I like how Johnny Cash can, I love just from these first 4 songs alone, it just shows how versatile he can be as a singer. He can sing fast songs like Rock Island Line. He can sing sad, depressing songs like Heard That Lonesome Whistle. And then he can sing these tongue-in-cheek, corny as heck, but still delightful stuff like If the Good Lord's Willing and the Creek Don't Rise. And it fits within his range and his ability to be a great singer.
I think this is a pretty good song. Probably one of my least favorites on this album, but I still really like it a lot. Kind of like with you with Country Boy, like like this. There has to be like one least favorite song, and sadly, this is one of them. That doesn't mean it's bad or anything, but yeah, I will say of all the debut albums I covered, that me and Jacob covered, and just this is probably my favorite debut album that I've covered on any channel so far. So
Yeah, I would say just to a little bit ahead of things. I would say this and CCR's debut album have been my 2 favorite debut albums we've covered so far.
yeah, well, we didn't cover My Generation yet, so if when we talk about My Generation, this would be my second favorite. But as of now, this is my favorite debut album I've covered. So this is a really good, still really good song though. But yeah, I agree. Great versatility. Next, we're getting into a really big song on this one. Cry, Cry, Cry.
Yeah, this was actually Johnny Cash's first hit. This was the one that started it all, and I think it's a great start. I can just imagine first listening to this song for the first time if I was a kid in 1957, hearing this song on the radio. I would have thought this was another amazing act from a great up and coming artist, because you got to remember there was some great talent that was coming in the world of especially rock and roll at this time. You had Elvis Presley, you had Chuck Berry, and you had Little Richard, and you had Fats Domino, the Everly Brothers. You got some great artists that were rising about this time. And then you get Johnny Cash here, who He has that great baritone voice. He has this cool rockabilly sound. He does this cool thing with his guitar that's called the boom chicka boom effect, which is really awesome. And it all began with this song. And it's very catchy. It's got a good chorus. I like how he uses the term cry, 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 referring to this broken relationship. But yet it's still very singable at the same time. This is one of my favorite songs on the album and a great debut single from the Man in Black.
Yeah, this is a amazing song from the Man in Black. It's such a good song. Um, I remember when I first listened to this album, this song really stood out to me. I'm like, cry, 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 and I'm like, oh, this is such a good song. I'm like, it's a shame the song isn't that popular. It's the first time I ever heard this. But then when I found out this was one of his bigger songs, like, oh, it's good. I'm glad this is one of his bigger songs because I think the song's freaking amazing. Um, really, really good. Side one closes out with a song called "Remember Me."
I think I'm gonna say this is probably my least favorite song on the album. Again, like Country Boy. Not that it's a bad song by any means. I mean, Johnny Cash sounds great on all these songs, but I think this is the one that stood out the least. I think it and Lonesome Whistle sound a bit too similar with one another, and to me, Lonesome Whistle is more memorable of a slow, sad song, and this one just does not stand out in comparison. That's the only reason it's my least favorite on the album, but it's not horrible by any means. It's just more of again, another filler track.
Hmm. Yeah, I understand. This isn't one of my all-time favorites either. This is probably towards the bottom of my list, but I think this is a pretty good song. Like I said, I agree with you. It's more towards the bottom, but he still sounds like you said, really good on this song. So yeah, I think this song's pretty good. Uh, Side one opens up with "So Long Gone Lonesome."
Yeah. What's being sad too?
Yes.
That's all right. So Doggone Lonesome. So this was one of the other hit songs from the album. I'm not as familiar with this one compared to his other hits. I still think it's pretty good. It's probably the weakest of the four singles on this album. I think musically it does sound a little bit derivative from his other hits, but I think Johnny Cash still sounds great on it. I like how he sings "So Doggone Lonesome." Uh, it's probably near the bottom of my song ranking, but I still think it's a really good song, and it's got a good hook to it.
Yeah, I will say I'm surprised this was a hit single. Like this was a hit single because this is probably the most forgettable song on the album. It's good, but it's not like I wouldn't call it. I wouldn't say it's hit single worthy. Like I'd say the Rock Island Lie would have been a much better fourth single than this.
Yeah.
That's just my humble opinion.
Yeah, I think I agree with you to a certain degree. Like there's Rock Island Line, I think would have been a great hit song from Johnny Cash, and there's another one we'll get to that I think that could have been a great hit as well. That surprisingly wasn't.
Yeah. But yeah, this is a really good song though. But like I said, it's good for the album, but it's not single worthy. Next song on the album is "I Was There When It Happened."
And this is the other song I was alluding to. I think this could have been a great single as well. This is one of my other favorite songs on this album. It's cool that Johnny Cash did a country song with a little bit of gospel influence in there. This is the only Johnny Cash song on the album that has harmonies on it. And I love the backing vocals on this track that assist Johnny. It's kind of like a call and response to what Johnny's saying in the chorus. Like, I was there when it happened.
Save my soul.
And he saved my soul. Save my soul. I just love that back and forth response on the track. And this is one of my favorites on the album. It shocks me that this was not a hit single because it's really awesome.
I agree with you. Sadly, it's not on my top five. I'm sad because if we could do a top five with seven songs, we could be like seven's the new five. This would be in it, but sadly not. This is an amazing song though. This will definitely be in my honorable mentions though.
Mhm.
Uh, Next song on the album, it's a song that we never heard before. It's called "I Walk the Line." I don't think I've ever heard this song before. Just kidding.
Uh, yeah, this is one of Johnny Cash's best songs. This was one of the first Johnny Cash songs I ever heard. I think I remember hearing this shortly after I first heard "Ring of Fire" for the first time, and it's always one that stood out to me. I love the guitar riff on the song. Do, 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 do. And you have that. Johnny Cash's amazing vocals, and then I love how how most country love songs, uh, if it builds to a climax and it usually goes up in key. Not the case in "I Walk the Line." He starts out singing his first key, and then in each verse he goes down a half step. And what's really cool is before he sings each verse, you notice he hums before he sings a verse. And he does that so he can stay in tune because they change keys in every verse. And I love how he goes from down one half step to the next. And then at the very end of the song, he goes back to the original key and sings in a lower octave. And this is the song where you really get to see Cash's baritone vocals really shine because this is some of the lowest notes I think I've ever heard from Johnny Cash. And it's some amazing stuff at the very end of the song where he's like, "You good, you bad." Oh, the line. I can't do it as good as he does, but yeah, this is one of his signature songs for a reason, and it's cool that it's on his first album. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is his first number one hit. So there's a lot of great things about this one.
It's great. You're like, it's in the 1957 first album, and you're already getting his iconic songs right away. So that's like a really good sign. And like some people might like you can either view that as a good sign or a bad sign. They could be like, oh, like he's already making big hits. Maybe it might go downhill from here, or you could view it as, oh wow, he's already doing great. It could only go up from here. So you could be on the positive side of it, or you could be on the negative side of it. I like to be on the positive side of it because I've heard these next three albums, and I think they're also really good. So yeah. Oh yeah, I agree with you, Jason. The song Jackson from his 1967 album. Forgot the name of it, but I'm excited to review that with Jacob because
Yeah,
that album.
Jackson is probably the best song they did together. I also really like what's that song called? I think it's called "Long Legged Guitar Picking Man." I think it's what
That's
it's
a great
called.
song.
That one's pretty good too.
Yeah, I really like that song. Wait, hold on. I'm gonna see where that album's from because I think I know where. Um, it's from that same album, Carrying On with Johnny Cash and June Carter. So you get those two songs on that album.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one because Johnny and June had some great duets together.
I think that album's amazing. That's another album I'm familiar with. Um, yeah, I think we could both agree though that I Walk the Line's awesome.
Yeah, very awesome. So awesome they named a biopic after it.
Yes. Uh, Sadly, it's not in my top five. So we both have a. So I'm gonna spoil it. We both have a hot take on what's not on our top five. My hot take is that this song isn't in my top five. Well, we'll find out
Yeah,
soon.
I have a hot take, but I have a legit reason why when we get to it.
I have a legit reason too. It's because I
There's
think,
all the other songs are great.
yeah, it's not like if this was like a bad album and I'm like, yeah, this is not my top five, then yeah. But if honestly, this is like at number six, like very very close to being at my number five. There's only one reason why I Walk the Line isn't even in my top five. It's another song. It's a certain song, and you'll find out. Next
Oh,
song on the album, The Wreck of Old '97.
before you do that, Jason mentioned another great Johnny and Cash song. If I Were a Carpenter is pretty good too.
Oh yeah, I think the Four Tops version is my favorite, but this is my second favorite version.
That's the version I'm most familiar with, Johnny and June.
Okay,
Yeah.
but what do you think of The Wreck of Old '97 though?
Oh, dude, I love this song. I'm a sucker for story songs, and apparently this is based on a true incident that happened, which is really interesting. I was gonna say cool, but the incident that this is based on is not cool because it's a train wreck. Obviously, I think there were deaths involved. Uh, to me, it was cool. Apparently, the cities that are referenced in this song I'm familiar with because I'm from Virginia originally. So when he was saying, "Oh, we're traveling from Lynchburg to Danville," I'm like, "Oh, I know that route. Hey, we're my neck of the woods. That's pretty cool." So, but I like the storytelling that's in the song. Great production on display. Johnny Cash sounds great as always. This made it into my top five. I think this is a really excellent track and very underrated.
Yeah, I think this is the best deep cut on. Well, yeah, one of the best deep cuts on the album. Uh, I will say I wanted this to be my favorite song on the album, but there's a version on San Quentin I think is just slightly better. Uh, it's kind of well, it's gonna be like that case for Jacob on the next song, but yeah, that's like the only reason why it's not my favorite because he does this song in his San Quentin album, and I think I think it's slightly better than this version. Speaking of that, next song on the album, it's a place that he was at one point, and he actually went to record live once or twice or however many times he did. Folsom Prison, or the song named Folsom Prison Blues.
Yeah, yeah, I love this song. It's definitely another one of his signature songs. I read this was the first song he ever wrote, and the fact you write this song and it's this good off the bat, that shows how great of a writer that Johnny Cash is. There's a great story of sadness in here. This man in Folsom Prison, but it's also a catchy song at the same time. There's some really killer wordplay in this song. I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die. That's a cold lyric. And you wonder if whether he enjoyed doing that or he's in prison reflecting upon it. I'm like, why did I do this? But that's just the cool thing about this song. It's the level of, I guess, intrigue within the character that Johnny Cash is singing, is playing in this song. I love the guitar solo here. Yeah, there's a lot of that's in there. The hot take. I want this in my top five. It's a great song. The only reason it's not kind of similar to what Nick alluded to, I've heard the live version of this song on the Folsom Prison album, and I prefer the live version a lot better because it's more energetic. This one seems a bit more laid back in comparison. The
Yeah,
original recording is still really good, but if I had to choose a version of this song, the live version, I feel like it's 10 times better.
yeah, and with I Walk the Line, I actually prefer the version on San Quentin, the version at San Quentin. I prefer that version over the studio version, just slightly more, and that's the reason why it isn't in my top five. That's another reason as well, because
Gotcha.
kind of like your reasons. He does it. He does it on his San Quentin album. Uh, Last song on the album, "Doing My Time."
Yeah, this was a solid album closer. It's crazy how this and Folsom Prison Blues feel like they're intertwined with one another because Folsom Prison, he's he's stuck in Folsom Prison. He's going to be there a long time. This song, he's doing my time until he gets out and he can see his baby once again. And I'm like, okay, this is a interesting little companion song. I don't think it's as good as Folsom Prison, but it's still a catchy track. And I love the baritone vocals on this song. It's probably one of the weaker songs, but I still think it's pretty good and it's better than some of my least favorite tracks on the album.
This might be our most divisive on this video because I think this is one of the better. I think this is one of the best songs on the album. I love this. I love sort of like you said, like the basically it's basically like Folsom Prison Part Two, basically, and
Mm-hmm.
I think this is an amazing companion piece. After that, I really enjoyed this song, but I see where you're coming from, though. Again, this is like 12 amazing songs, so doing a ranking on these songs is good. It's good. It's probably a little hard to do.
It is a little hard. And also the fact that he did 12 songs on an album and it's only 27 minutes long. It short, sweet, packs a punch, and you get some great music.
I don't think there's a single weak song on this album, like in terms of like songs that I can care less about. I think all these songs are good in their own way.
Mhm.
What is your top five though?
My top five. My number five is The Wreck of the Old 97. Number four, Rock Island Line. Number three, I Was There When It Happened. Number two, Cry, Cry, Cry. And number one, I Walk the Line.
Cool. Jason says, don't sing songs about prison. What do you think they forgot?
I think it's a reference to the movie.
I haven't watched that movie in a long time, so
Yeah.
yeah, I think I remember that scene now, but yeah. My number five is gonna be Folsom Prison Blues. Just barely snuck into my top five. It was either that or I Walked the Line. It was those two songs are battling it out. My number four is gonna be Rock Island Line. That song's so freaking amazing. My number three is gonna be Cry Cry Cry. Number two is gonna be The Wreck of 97. And my number one is gonna be Doing My Time. Really love the track. What are your honorable mentions?
Honorable mentions. I have three honorable mentions, and that is Folsom Prison Blues, I Heard That Lonesome Whistle, and If the Good Lord's Willing.
Okay. My honorable mentions are gonna be I Heard That Lonesome Whistle blow. I'm gonna say no. I was there when it happened, and of course Folsom Prison Blues. No, I Walked the Line.
Oh,
Can't speak today.
did you want to talk about the one non-album song real quick?
Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot about that. Johnny Cash also did a. There was a B side to for our single "Cry Cry Cry." I think
It's Cry Cry Cry.
it's called "Hey Porter." What do you think of that song?
That's a great song. If it was on the album, it would have been an honorable mention. It wouldn't have made my top five. I think it's another catchy song, great wordplay, great vocal delivery.
Cool.
Yeah, you like that one as well, Nick?
Oh, I really like that song. It's a again. I won't have really much to say about it, but I think it's a good song too. That was a great line from the movie. That and you look like you're going to a funeral. Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I need to see that movie again. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's a really good movie. I haven't watched it in a while, so I don't remember much of the references.
Yeah.
What would you rate it from 1 through 10 though?
On a scale of 1 to 10, I would give Hot and Blue Guitar a 9 out of 10. This and the CCR album. I think of some of the projects I've been involved in and some of the collabs I've done with you. This and the CCR album have been my two favorite debut albums so far. This is such a great, tight, cohesive album. 12 really good songs on it. Some of Johnny's best hit songs are on this album. And just all around a great start to an amazing career. And I'm excited to see where it goes from here.
Oh, me as well. Me as well. This is really excited to go through this discography because yeah, So much great songs by him. Big thing. Anything you like to? Well, you basically summed it up.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for watching this video.
Oh, I don't think you shared your rating.
Oh my god, my
Yeah,
brain is not braining today.
share the people what you rated this album. It's your channel, dude.
I give it a Johnny Cash out of 10. No, I give it a 10 out of 10. This is my second favorite debut album of all time. Really, probably thinking like that's crazy. Like
Wow.
we've heard so many artists, so I know so many artists. I know so much music. So coming from someone who's really big into music and saying that that's a 10 out of 10 album, and it's my second favorite debut album. That should tell you a lot about how great the debut is, because most debut albums are not really the best. It's usually them like finding their sound.
So, what's your favorite debut album then? Just out of curiosity.
My Generation by The Who, my favorite band.
Makes sense.
My third favorite debut would probably be Queen's debut.
Yeah, Queen is a good debut.
That's my third favorite. So those are like my top three favorite debuts. Uh, being dumb aside, thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video. So long. Peace out from the Men in Black.
Yeah.